Hey yo, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to be fitting this brand new skimmer to the dream reef tank, the Seatorch UM250 internal. Alright, thank you for joining me on yet another episode of Parker's Reefs. And as touched on in the intro, well, I guess maybe if I go a step back from what I said in the intro, today I've got some bad news and some really good news. And the bad news is that my Cove skimmer unfortunately died on me about a month ago. The controller here got some water on it. I got the controller out as quickly as I could, put it in some rice, dried it off, cleaned the circuit board with isopropyl alcohol. Unfortunately, the damage is already done. Salt water and electronics do not go all that well together. And it did get me into a position where I started to try and track down one of these Aquabee controllers, or even trying to track down a sort of makeshift solution in if I could retrofit another needle wheel pump into the beautiful Cove skimmer body. But it was right about that time that some advertising did come out around this brand new range of Seatorch skimmers, and I've got to say I run a range of other Seatorch products that I'm super impressed with. So the opportunity to upgrade my skimmer, which was an absolute workhorse for the last 5 years, into something a little bit more modern that has a few more features that I'm really excited to check out, was way too good of an opportunity to pass up. So I guess here we are today. I'm going to unbox this skimmer. We're going to put it together. We're going to go through those features. Of course, we're going to fit it to the dream reef tank and get that makeshift pump out of that Cove, get that out, put that in the shed, get this bad boy running, and hopefully watch all of those organics get sucked out of this tank and the pH go upwards. So perhaps we'll get this into the kitchen, because as you can see by the size of this box, this is a beast of a unit, and I'm not going to try and unbox it here, sort of hank it around the dream reef tank. I'm going to go over to the kitchen over there where I've got lots of room, get these things out of the box, show you exactly what you get, the quality that this unit is. We're going to assemble it, then we'll get it in here. Let's go do it. All right, here we are with the massive Seatorch box. Now, I have to say that I did research very thoroughly before picking this unit, mostly around the footprint of the unit and whether it was going to fit in the compartment that I have for it in my sump. Now, I can say one of the huge key features of this new Seatorch range is the configurable options they have of where the pump sits, where the pipes for the inlets and outlets and things like that of the skimmer sit. It gives you a number of options, which gives you a number of different footprints to suit your sump or not suit your sump. So it does just sort of give you a little bit more options with each and every one of these models, which I find very convenient. But we'll have a look at that a little bit more when we put it together. Well, I assume we will. Let's open this massive box up and see what we can find. It looks like we've got a couple of boxes within a box here, and that's understandable because it's a massive box here. I'm going to get these out. There's one of the big boxes, and this one's the bigger of the two boxes and probably the heavier. Oh yeah, this is a big bit of kit. All right, I'm going to just yeet this box out of the way. All right, now I've got two big boxes here to work through, so I'm going to crack this one open first and we'll have a look at what we get inside this box. I got to say, there's a lot of packaging, but it is very well packaged to ensure that everything is safe and sound. And you can see in here we've got some things like the controller, which has a color LCD screen, as well as Wi-Fi connectivity and a corresponding app. So if you have things like the cup getting full, there is a sensor there that will not turn the pump off, but turn the power down to, I think it's about 20%, and it'll push you a push notification so that you get a message to your phone to say, hey, your skimmer cup is full. So you know that as soon as you get home, you can empty that cup and then your pump will go back to full speed again. Super cool. I've also got to say some things like all of the white plastic in here is PVC, which is super strong, and all of the metal components on all of the Seatorch products are titanium, which means they're not going to rust and get all ugly and put undesirable trace elements into your reef tank. So all sorts going on here. I got to laugh, you even get a little screwdriver and Allen key, you get some sticky pads and things for the controller. All of those items there all looks good. It's got a number of languages in there, so got a few options there. In fact, it looks like it might be mostly Chinese, or there could be English as well. There is English as well, yeah, so that explains a large number of the pages in there, but that all looks above board. Next row of products in here, and it is literally the next row because there it is, and you go into the third row in a second, but we've got things like the the water outlet pipe, you've got the water inlet pipe, which has even more innovative features that we'll check out shortly, but mostly this overflow pipe here, which means if something happens and your water level increases in your sump, rather than your skimmer just going berserk and overflowing, this will actually stop that from happening before it happens, which I think is really, really cool. We'll have a closer look at that, how that works when we set it up. It's all very heavy and solid equipment. I do love the quality of Seatorch. It's very hard to explain on a video. If you ever get the opportunity to see, feel and touch a Seatorch product in person, particularly their skimmers, calcium reactors, even their dosing containers, you'll instantly see how heavy, how solid and how well that made they are. Another feature that this skimmer has that my current Cove does not, and it's something that I have wanted to do and my skimmer has held me back before, and that is play with a little bit of ozone. This skimmer is completely ozone safe, and it even has a separate intake for the ozone inlet, which I'm super excited to experiment with in the future. But we'll get that row out of the way, and I think this is the third and final row for this box. It's actually in a couple of bits. We've got power supply there. Get rid of that one. Cool, here is the new pump. Man, this is a big pump. Let's have a look here. We've got 6,000 litres an hour, 1,850 litres an hour of air, 70 watts of power max, and a massive pinwheel in there. This is a solid looking unit. Very excited to see that pump in action. And this looks like the diffuser plate, if I can get that out, which is something that my makeshift solution while I've been waiting for this to come in hasn't had. So I'm excited to get a diffuser plate back on there and really get those bubbles evenly spread throughout the reactor. So that's box one down. I might tidy this up. I mean, is the body, I don't think there'll be much else. Body, cup, I think that's about all, but you never know, we might be surprised. Let's have a look. And I've got to say, at this point in time, I am seriously hoping the measurements I took of my sump are accurate, because this is a big box. This is a big skimmer. Oh, it is a big skimmer. Oh, man, this box is just the skimmer. Here is the cup. Damn, that is a big cup. Look at it next to the size of my head. I'll try and zoom in so you can get some perspective there. That thing is way bigger than my current cup, and it's so heavy. Like I said about Seatorch, things like the lid, they weigh so much. It is so solidly made. Absolutely love it. And yeah, oh, hope this thing fits in my sump, but look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. And you start to see some of these configurable options here. I'll be sure to bring the camera in. So you've got these little plugs here that you can remove and put over there if you want skimmer inlet to be on one side as opposed to the other, to change up the footprint so that it can fit, well, hopefully fit in your sump. At this point in time, I'm really hoping it fits in my sump. But we'll go from there shortly. Looks like we have a O-ring fitment, which is a change from the previous Seatorch skimmers. They did have a nice little thread, which was very nicely machined, but looks like we've gone to an O-ring fitment, which is fine. You just have to know it's an O-ring and not try and spin it around. And looks like we're at the stage where we probably should start constructing this unit. Have a look at that instruction manual. I need to remind myself which layout was going to fit in my sump. Then, of course, I will need to remove the Cove that's currently in there and go about shoehorning this bad boy in there. Give it a test then. But first things first, maybe I'll run a little time lapse of me assembling this bad boy right now.
Okay, assembling this unit with the included tools couldn't be any easier. Open up the body, put the pump down the base, put the diffuser plate on it, put the body back over the top, screw the body down, and then put on those two drain pipes with the included titanium screws they come with. Feed the hose through to the intake, through to the resonator, mount the overflow switch in the cap, and then put the cap on top of the cup, and job done.
Alright, my skimmer is now assembled, but almost as if I did it deliberately, and perhaps let's just say I did. I just set the skimmer up with the position of the inlets and outlets exactly where it was out of the box. And I just thought, before I try and shoehorn this in to the spot in my sump, which is 30 centimeters wide by 40 centimeters deep, I thought I'd grab the trusty old measuring tape and have a look. And at first measurement, I went, okay, this way's fine. The long way I'm coming in, or if I do it where you can actually see it, if I go from about there to about there, our 40 centimeters front to back is fine. That's going to fit in nicely. All I need is 30 centimeters this way. And when I measured things up, I was like, we're going to have the inlet of the pump pretty close to the sump wall. And I went, how exactly do I change this? Because these two pieces here have these fixture points back here in the body, so I cannot move those. And then I was looking at the pump and the base, and I'm like, I can take these caps out, but I can't move the pump. It's mounted in the base. Thankfully, the penny drops for me, and then I realized that there is two parts to the base held together with these 4 titanium screws. I can undo that and shift the pump around. So what I'll end up doing, instead of having the pump inlet here, I'll have the pump inlet here, because I have room to go front to back further to fill up that 40 centimeters, and that should keep my side to side under 30. At the moment, it would actually fit. It's just that the sump wall would be right in front of the skimmer inlet, and that's not great for pump performance. So I really want the skimmer inlet to be at the front. Well, I want this to be the front, this to be the back, which will make it a little bit awkward for adjustment, but we'll make do to fit this monster of a skimmer into my sump, and we should be good to go. So perhaps cue another little time lapse where I undo these 4 screws. We'll turn that base so I can have the inlet of the pump facing this side. I'll put that bung in over there, and we should be right to fit this into the sump.
Thankfully, this is a super easy fix. Undo those 4 screws, turn the body, and replace the caps to fit the holes that are now no longer pump intakes. Simple as that.
Alright, now that I have changed the configuration of this skimmer, which, like I have said throughout the entire video, is one of the main features of it, which allows me to fit this skimmer, which is considerably bigger than the cove I'm taking out, to shoehorn into that sump. And now, whilst I just fit, I do fit. I have 30 centimeters of width, which is side to side, and then front to back I've got 40 centimeters, and it leaves me just enough room to get enough intake space for that pump there. And I've got to say, now that I've got this pump together, there are a couple of things. I've also taken off the inlet hose. It'll go to the resonator, because I'm going to tee that up to my fresh air feed outside, which does mean I could remove the resonator here as well, which possibly I will, so I can get a good look to make sure the adjustable pipe here is draining correctly. There's no snails or anything like that in there, but just to make it look nice and complete, I can sit that back on there. But it does also highlight this extra pipe that I'm conveniently hiding from camera here. This one over here, which is a super unique feature here on the Seatorch new range of skimmers, which I can't tell you much about it yet because I haven't tried it, but from what I've looked at in the instructions, what we do is we actually take this clear pipe off, and essentially once we get it running, well, you can leave that on for the time being, but lift this up as high as you like, because you do just slide it in there. It's got a sort of a O-ring press fit in there. As you can see here, it says waterline. Well, I say you can see, maybe you can. It says waterline here, right at the top of this pipe. And basically what you do is you get the skimmer in and dialed in right where you want it. Probably for a dry skim with the water or the bubbles breaking up at the base of the cup. For a wet skim, maybe an inch above the base of the cup. But once you get that running where you want to with the pump speed, of course being a DC pump, fully controllable and adjustable through here, then you adjust this and you push this pipe down till the water line is right below this pump. And what that does, or behind this pipe I should say, not pump, what that does is, like I said, if the sump level increases for some reason, it'll actually bleed some water off outside of that pipe, which will then come through this outlet here, making sure your skimmer doesn't go crazy. If the water level goes up 1 or 2 inches, it's going to save it there rather than collecting it here in the cup, which is super, super cool. I also had a little bit of trouble fitting the shut-off, well, it's not actually a shut-off, the cup full switch is probably what I should call it, because it doesn't shut the pump off. It slows the pump down very cleverly so that you don't dump everything in your skimmer and just turn it off completely and lose all oxygenation. It just slows the pump down so it doesn't continue to fill the cup, which is really clever. Once I realized the little boot could come off and that this little red pipe here is the actual nut, made a lot more sense. One of those things, I'm a middle-aged white guy, we tend not to look at instructions, and I really should. So once I looked at that, it all went together really nicely. And like I said, the base does come apart, and that is how you turn it to take advantage of these extra inlets and outlets on the side. To be fair, I've been calling them inlets and outlets. They are only optional inlets. Your outlets are fixed over here. You cannot move those, but you can make the inlet either this side, or this side. And that's what gives you configurable sizes or configurable footprint to fit your sump. Now, I've talked a lot about this fitting my sump. I think it's time I pull the cove out and see if I can get this in. I'm nervous, I can't lie, because this thing is massive. It's so much bigger than the cove. And my measurements, I've had the tape measure here, and I've double-checked, triple-checked that I've got the pump configuration the way I want it now. And by all readings, it should fit. It's just one of those things. Do we have the room? So no time like the present to go suss it out. I'll take the camera over to the sump and I'll get that cove out, and we'll go from there. Let's have some fun.
Okay, step one is to remove the old and slightly inoperable Cove skimmer, which has done a great job for 5 years, but this is the real test, is can this new Seatorch fit in there? And thankfully it does. This sump was custom built specifically for that Cove skimmer, but thankfully the Seatorch shoehorns in there like a dream. Now let's fire her up, see how she performs.
Alright, hopefully you can see what's happening in here now. I do have this huge skimmer shoehorned in here, hopefully giving me enough room at the front of the intake here for that pump not to get too restricted. I do have the water flow pipe here. I've got the clear piece here removed. I'll put that on once I dial that in. I've got the skimmer cup removed, obviously just for the time being, but I do have the lid here with the float switch just to make sure that that's all plugged into the controller. I'm not sure if the controller cracks the SADs if that's not plugged in. I'm assuming not, it would just close the loop, but I figured it's probably not a bad thing to do just to make sure I can demonstrate the operation of that. And obviously I haven't set up the app yet, but I think it's probably time we hook up some power and just see what exactly we get, because I don't know yet and I'm a little excited. So let me plug some power in, screw down that connector, and let's have a look. We get this incredible color screen. I've still got the protector on there. Look at that. It's got a picture of the skimmer on there. Let's see if I can get a little bit of cable length so you can see. It's got the UM250 in. It says 100% power there. Super, super cool. Now, I'm going to press power, I assume, and we get a little symbol to say that the pump is running, and hopefully very shortly it will. And I assume I can adjust the power here. I can with this dial, and we're off and running. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit just to see how things go, and you can see we're running. We've got some air inlet coming in there. We've got the pump running. We're running at 40% on this gorgeous color screen display, and so far so good. It's looking fine. It's running quietly. If I crank the power up a bit, we'll probably overflow, but all to be expected. And yeah, look at those bubbles starting to form already. That is running at 100% there, and it has not taken long to break in at all. That's super, super cool. Now, obviously, I've got all my adjustments with the pipes on the back here. That will raise or lower the water height there. And then last but not least, once I've got it bedded in, I've got to raise or lower this pipe here. Now, just out of curiosity, if I push that pipe down, I should, in fact, the water level there of that pipe that's about as low as it can go, and that's at the point where it's about to overflow there. So you could set it up to be as low as that, but I think what I need to do now is to get the cup on this, really dial this skimmer in, and get it doing its work. So bear with me, maybe one more quick time lapse, and I'll touch base with you once I've got this bad boy running just the way it should.
So the process is quite simple. I put the cup back on the skimmer, turn the pump up to about 80-85% power, and adjust that drain pipe on the left there to get the water to break about the base of the cup. You see it's moving around a little bit there just as it beds in, so I want to get that around the base of the cup. And now that I've got that where I want it, I'm going to push that overflow pipe down to the point where the water is almost overflowing out of it. Perfect.
Alright, I've got the skimmer up and running to a level where I'm happy for it to break in. Now you can see obviously I've got the skimmer cup back on. I've got the overflow pipe positioned there so that it's going to pour the water out back into my sump and not out into my cabinet. And you can see I've got the bubbles breaking at the base of the cup here. Now I can obviously adjust the height of that by turning this back here, and I'll just reach my arm over there to do that, hopefully without blocking the camera. And if I turn it that way, you see the water level rises. And hopefully it'll get to the point where it starts putting some water out this overflow pipe at the back here. And you can see it is. And you can hear it as well. That water is overflowing there so that it doesn't overflow the cup, which is super, super cool, even though I've completely misadjusted the skimmer. So I'll bring it back down to a reasonable level, and you can see that overflow pipe no longer makes that noise, and we're bringing the water level back down. So that's super, super cool, working a treat. But I'm going to put that back at the level where I sort of think it should be, which is back down here around the base of the cup, and I'll let that do its thing. I should also point out that at this stage, I'm only running the pump at 80%. I don't feel like there's a need to run it stronger than that. At this point in time, it's brand new. You can see the foam in the cup here, or in the body, I should say, is absolutely snow white. So I don't really feel like I need to run the pump harder than this. Of course, it's DC controllable, so I can completely adjust it should I need to, but for this point in time, no need to. I can adjust the height with this pipe here. Now, likewise, I can adjust that overflow pipe back there. If I want that to overflow, if the water gets over here, I can set that as well. But what I want to show you right now is if the cup was to get full and this float switch here was to activate, you'll notice the controller says full. The pump will slow down. It doesn't turn off, but it slows down, and I actually get a push notification to my phone and also to my watch to tell me that the collection cup is full and that I should empty it as soon as possible. Super, super cool. I'm not sure if you can see there, but the pump is still running. It's keeping it moving. It's making sure it doesn't dump all of that volume of water back into the sump. It also keeps it oxygenated, which is really, really cool. I'll let that float switch go back down, put the lid back on. We'll notice the controller here goes to saying 80% power again, and we're off and running. Now, I should also point out, you can see a little lock on the screen here, or hopefully you can. If I hold this down for 5 seconds, you'll notice that lock goes off and I can now adjust the power of that pump. So if I want to crank it up to 100%, let that bad boy fill back up, I can, or I can really fine tune it by individual percentage controlling. And when I'm finally happy with the setting, I'm going to go back to, well, let's try 84%. Hold that down for 5 seconds again, and we're back locked again. So now if someone was to press the feed mode button, doesn't do anything. Happy days, or even power. It's not going to do anything at all. Really, really clever controller, nicely integrated with the app to give you push notifications so you know when your cup is full. But most importantly, it's been running for about 40 seconds, don't get me wrong, but the body is showing really nice, dense, fine foam. It is dead silent in operation, which is a really nice change from the cobbled together system I had before, and I might even start to see the pH in my system, which had dropped down to 7.6 and 7.7 with the temporary skimmer in place. I think with this big boy running, we're going to see a little improvement in pH performance there. So all there really is to do now is to give this a good few days, if not a week, to break in. All of the surfaces in here have to build up a film, all of the pump has to bed in, everything has to really be given a good few days, and that's why I want to run this water level quite low for now. Once I've got a bit of a handle on it and the system's really bedded in and running the way it should, I might bring that water level up to about here, but for now this thing is skimming 10 times better than the temporary system I had in there before. As much as I want to keep playing with it, the best thing I can do now is lock these screws back here so they don't get bumped. Make sure I lock the controller. I can probably go about mounting this in a place so it doesn't get wet like the previous one, and we should be good to go. I'll see you in a few days.
Well, actually, while that skimmer is bedding in, I thought I'd take you through the Seatorch app side of things, just to quickly showcase some of the things you can do in here. And when you first join in, you need to create an account, and then you need to add a device. Now, when you go to add a device, you'll be greeted with this full list of Seatorch products that are capable within that app. I'm looking for the UM in, and there it is down there. Now, it does say to set this to the equipment network mode first. Follow the steps there, press next, select your 2.4 gigahertz network and put your password in there. And then once that's done, click on next step. The app will search for the controller, or the pump, I should say, from the skimmer, and hopefully we'll find it. We'll give it a second. It's looking. One thing I can say is just be mindful to make sure you select the correct skimmer. I did actually have a false start with this by trying to select the UM Pro when this is actually the UM Internal, and to my surprise I didn't find it. But when you select the correct one like it is there, it does find it, and you can see it's now connecting to that. It's pairing up to the cloud, and then it will bring that back so that it sets the password, or the Wi-Fi and password, to your local network so you can access this skimmer via the app from anywhere in the world, which I don't know if you'd want to. I guess if you get a notification that the skimmer cup is full when you're away, you might be able to get someone else who's home to empty it for you, those poor unfortunate souls. But other than that, I guess you could turn the pump down, or if you got a really high nitrate or phosphate reading, you could turn the pump up and let it wet skim a little bit. But I'll let you decide what you use the app for. I've got the skimmer connected to my app here now, and it's just going to load up for that official first view here, and you can see I've got a couple of settings to work with here. I can turn it on or off. I can change the power settings. I can also turn on or off the 0 to 10 volt control, and also the anti-overflow, which is just that float switch in the skimmer. You can also set how long you want the feed time to be, whether you turn that on via the app or via the controller. Got that there, and you can also very importantly change the screen language to English, because I was getting some messages popping up on the screen and they were in Chinese, and that did not help me at all. So now that's in English, that'll make a lot more sense. I can review all of the details here, the network, and all the things that you probably don't need to do. I can see that I can restart the device from here, which I'll do as well. But all in all, it looks like it works as you would expect. Like I said, you're probably not going to be changing how much power you're running through your skimmer or anything in the app, but it is important to set it up so you can get those push notifications when that skimmer cup is full. If that skimmer cup gets full, because what I do in my situation is I actually plumb the skimmer into the drain so that by all means it should not actually ever fill up. However, if it was to go crazy and it was to fill up really quickly, it will turn the skimmer off and send me, well, turn it down and send me a push notification. But you can see here the skimmer's been running for about an hour to maybe an hour and a half at this stage, and it has already bedded in very nicely. A great fluffy foam at the cup there, already starting to pull over a little bit of the dirty liquid there and looking like it's going to run a treat. What I will do now is block off that automatic drain on the skimmer and see how much it collects in 24 hours.
Alright, it's now been a few weeks since I installed this beautiful skimmer, the Seatorch UM250 internal, into the Dream Reef Tank sump, and I've got to say I could not be happier. It's been pulling out beautiful dark skimmate, producing a beautiful fluffy bubble in there. It has boosted my pH, and well, to be fair, I normally don't leave the cup blocked like this so that I can see how much stuff I'm removing. But after chatting to a couple of my friends about how good this skimmer is, they wanted to see some footage of how much gunk it collected. So for 24 hours, I blocked off the drain port so we could see how much we collected. And well, that's it there. I'll be sure to get some footage of me draining that into a cup so you can get a real good appreciation for how dark and thick it is. And I've got to say, that's with a pretty much an in-between mix of wet and dry skimming. I've got it about halfway. So all in all, I think it's performing absolutely flawlessly. Now, if I go back to give a bit of a summary around the skimmer, I guess there were a few marks that I really wanted to tick off when replacing the skimmer that unfortunately had failed for me in the Dream Reef Tank. Now, first of all, and thankfully it's one of the main features of the Seatorch, was I needed something that was going to fit in the space that I've got in this beautiful custom-built Hamali sump. And I can say that whilst I was super anxious about it, and whilst I did initially configure the skimmer of the pump in different spot where it was not going to fit in all that well, technically it would have fitted in, but it would have been hard pressed against the acrylic wall there, which wasn't really going to work all that well for the pump. Using that configurable footprint, I was able to get this skimmer into the sump and get it working perfectly. Now, if you have a look at the full range of the brand new Seatorch skimmers, I'm pretty sure each and every one of them has that configurable footprint, which you can have a look at the different dimensions for each one of those skimmers, which may just allow you to go one size up in your skimmer, because you can turn things around to make it work with the footprint you have available in your sump. And that is a huge, huge plus that I can't say that no other skimmer on the market has that feature, but definitely not many do, and it's a really, really important thing that I think is something that's probably going to change the way skimmers are made in the future. Now, secondly, I needed something high quality. They don't call this the Dream Reef Tank for nothing, and that's because I don't put cheap and cheerful products on there. I like to have something very, very good quality in there, but at the end of the day, as much as I'd love to be, I'm not made of money. And the Seatorch skimmer here ticks both of those boxes. It is supreme quality. It weighs an absolute ton, despite having all titanium bolts on it. All of the PVC and acrylic on this thing is super, super solid. You can tell it has been built to last a lifetime, and that's something that I'm very, very excited to see. And just the feel that you get working with Seatorch products. It also matches all of my other Seatorch products, including my dosing containers, my calcium reactor, and my calcium reactor expansion container. So it fits in with the theme very, very nicely. And I was going to say most importantly, not always most importantly, but let's face it, it's a factor. Price-wise, this bad boy is not that expensive at all. You can buy them directly from Seatorch with worldwide shipping available. I'll show on screen the price in Australian dollars for this one for you now. As you'll see, it is not outrageous in its price, particularly for the features and the quality that you get. And obviously those skimmers will vary in price depending on the size and model you pick. But for my guy here, it's $1,700 Australian. Absolute steal in my books. There's not a lot that can compete with this for this price point, this size, and this quality. In fact, I struggle to think anything that will compete with it. Now, leaning on a little bit from the build quality is the ability of this unit to have ozone added. I've long wanted to put ozone onto the Dream Reef tank. Unfortunately for me, my previous skimmer was not ozone safe, and technically you could put ozone on it, but it would just disintegrate the skimmer in probably weeks, months, at most years. This guy here is completely ozone friendly and even has an ozone inlet port down there, which means yes, I can look to add a little bit of ozone onto this tank in the coming, I was going to say weeks, but realistically probably months. And we'll see that skimmer get even darker production then as it pulls out even more organics, which is going to be super, super exciting. So that was another feature that I really wanted to tick. And then going on from there onto some of the other features that I think are really, really important. The DC pump. Whilst I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have a DC pump on your skimmer because you've got other adjustments available, being able to adjust in 1% increments to get that bubble breaking exactly where you want it is definitely worth its weight in gold. Is it 100% necessary? No, but it's very, very handy because sometimes with that water height adjustment tube, you get to the point where the tiniest little crack one way is too much and the tiniest little crack the other way is not enough. Being able to adjust in individual percents via that controller or via the app is super, super handy. And speaking about the app, whilst I will say that I think most of the features there are probably not necessary, I personally don't think I'm going to be adjusting whether the skimmer has a 0 to 10 volt input, whether I want the shut-off valve to work or not, or even the power of the skimmer remotely. I absolutely love the push notification that you get when that skimmer float switch is activated. That is the sort of thing that you can then reach out to someone who is home and say, hey, can you check the skimmer for me? And if it is full, can you empty it and get that skimmer running again? Rather than having to wait a day, a week, or whatever it may be that you're away from the tank, you can get that addressed ASAP. And then just to add another little layer of perfection to that, when that float switch does get triggered, it doesn't turn the skimmer off. Doesn't shut everything down, which is what some other options do. They kill the power to the skimmer, stop it from overflowing, everything's happy. However, your skimmer's no longer running and you're no longer oxygenating your water, which can cause all sorts of other problems. The Seatorch is smart enough just to dial that power down so that you're not going to overflow your skimmer, but still aerate your water. Huge tick in my book and absolutely worth the entry price alone if you're looking for that sort of feature on the skimmer. Now, last but not least in the innovative range of features on this skimmer is that, I'm going to call it mechanical overflow device, where you actually have a secondary exit pipe on this skimmer where you can set the water level that if something was to go wrong, whether your sump level was to increase too much or there was some sort of blockage, or maybe you didn't put the lock on the controller and someone turned it up and it went rogue, or you bumped the adjustment pipe on the other side there without noticing. If the water level goes up too high, it's just going to overflow out of that pipe and stop your skimmer going crazy. Don't get me wrong, the pump will still run hard, the water level will still go up, but it will bypass and let a lot of that water out of that overflow pipe, which is really, really innovative. I cannot believe, and maybe I shouldn't say that no one else has thought of this. It could be a feature in other skimmers that I've never noticed before, but personally, I've never seen that before, and I think that's going to save a whole heap of problems that people encounter with their skimmers out there. Something fairly simple, but very, very clever. Seatorch have ticked the box on that one, and it's a fantastic feature to add to an already feature-packed skimmer. Well, all right, guys, there you have it. That is the introduction, the unboxing, the building, the configuration, and my final thoughts on the Seatorch UM250-in skimmer. I think this is a feature-packed skimmer, very high-quality build, and very well-priced skimmer. I could not be happier at the 3-week mark with it. What I will look to do into the future is add ozone to it, like I mentioned, to really get this thing cranking to its absolute peak. And I will also retrofit my universal neck cleaner to this skimmer as well, replumb back up the drain so this cup is always nice and empty. And I think with those things added on, ozone, the cup draining, and my neck cleaner on it, I can let this skimmer just work for months and months on end before having to pull it apart and give it a good clean. But all in all, a fantastic skimmer. Now, just before I wrap things up there, I do just want to say if you have any questions, comments, feedback at all, feel free to post it in the comment section down below. I do personally reply to each and every comment there, so it is by far the best way to get hold of me. And I will make sure that if I don't know the answer, I'll track down the answer for you and we'll get that question resolved for you. And just before I do wrap things up, I want to give a massive shout out to these names somewhere on screen here, these are my channel members who chip in a couple of dollars each and every month to make it possible for me to bring videos like this one and buy the latest and greatest gear to showcase with you guys on YouTube for free of charge. So a massive round of applause to each and every one of my channel members who really do make this channel possible. So thank you very, very much. Last but not least, if you're not a channel member and you want to support the channel, but you don't have a couple of dollars to spare a month, I completely get you. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button in that bottom corner down there. That does not cost a single cent today, tomorrow, or in the future, but it goes a long way to supporting the channel, telling that YouTube algorithm that we should recommend these videos to more people. And currently we are so close to 35,000 subscribers, so maybe you might be the one that ticks it over the edge. Now guys, I think I should probably wrap things up there. I want to get to work on replumbing up the drain to this skimmer so I don't have to smell this horrible skimmate. I don't know how you guys do that. I'm used to having an empty cup there, and I tell you what, it makes life in this sump, particularly when your nose is this close to the skimmer, considerably better. If you haven't done a project like that, please consider it. It makes things way, way better. Anyway guys, till next time, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers, bye.